You can deploy as many web applications to Azure Static Web Apps as you want for free. You can use authentication, wire them up to an API, and have them deployed around the globe via a content delivery network for a low latency, high performance solution to your static web needs. But how do you use them and what type of web applications are eligible? In this video, I'm going to show you how to set up an Azure Static Web App and how to deploy it from a simple website, as well as deploying a Blazor WebAssembly application. If you have a React application, a web assembly application, or even a simple landing page or website, this video will show you how to set up and deploy to Azure Static Web Apps for free. This video is going to give you a quick overview of how to get started with Azure Static Web Apps, but if you want to go into more depth in Azure and how to save money and ensure you don't have security breaches or cost overruns, I encourage you to check out my course on Azure at imtimcorey.com. While I give you complete tutorials here on YouTube, and I try to cover as much as possible, my courses at imtimcorey.com go into depth in the topics to ensure you have a real-world knowledge that you need to get the job done. I encourage you to check them out. All right, so we're going to start by creating a new repository in GitHub. Now, if you don't have GitHub, GitHub is free. You can sign up for an account. We're going to create a couple of quick repositories. So we're going to do one this way, which is on github.com, and then we'll do one in Visual Studio. Though we have both ways of doing things. But this is going to be our, let's say, test website. Okay, this is going to be our HTML site. All right, that's all it's going to be. I'm not going to keep this repository, by the way. It's really private. I'm not going to publish this because there's no need to keep it around long term. That's why I'm making it private. But if you do have the source code, there's a link down in the description. I'll give you all the source code for all of this, just in case you wanted to see something. But this really is more about the deployment to Azure Static Web Apps. Okay, so I'll leave the description blank. I'm going to choose private for the visibility. I will put a README on. I guess it's just a good practice to always have a README. For git ignore, I am going to say Visual Studio. I'll be using VS Code for this one because it's just HTML. It's all. But Visual Studio covers VS Code as well for the git ignore. Okay, we're not going to use Copilot for a jumpstart. Let's hit Create Repository. And when we do, we have our very basic repository with a git ignore and a README. Let's go ahead and copy this. We're going to clone this repository. So I'll come over here. I will say open it in terminal. And I am going fast here. I'm not focusing in on GitHub. If you want to know about GitHub, I have a course on that. If you want more about Git, I have a course on that. Just go to imtimcorey.com. I'll help you out. Or there are videos on Git and GitHub here on YouTube as well. So git clone, and we'll do test website. And we're going to do cd test website. That's the directory it's created. And if we were to do a directory on that, you'll see it's just the two files. So we'll say code and then dot. That opens VS Code, opens it actually in the other window here. So we'll bring it over, and we'll also increase that font size. Okay, so I'm going to create a file. We're going to call it index.html. This is the standard starting point for a web application. And I am going to say HTML:5. This is inside of VS Code. It uses what's called Emmet. And what this does is it allows you to shortcut some things. So in this case, I can shortcut, let's close out that chat window. I can shortcut the idea of starting up my website with something that is somewhat meaningful or a good starting point. So we'll call this our test site. And in the body, I'm going to say just an H1 tag. I'm going to say test website. And then we'll do a paragraph tag, which is like this. I can say this is our test website. Okay, nothing crazy. It's just a really simple little web page. And I'm going to now commit this. Initial code commit is fine. And we'll go ahead and synchronize that up to the server. That's it. We're done. Now, I will come back over here. We're going to notice there's only 3 files right now. I'm going to show you once we make one change and go over to Azure, there'll be something different there. So let's come here to our test website. if we refresh the page, we'll see that we now have that index.html there. Okay, now let's go to Azure. And here in my Azure portal, I am going to say create a resource. I'm going to look for a static web app. And there's a lot of stuff that's listed here, but if you go here and say Azure services only, this is for Microsoft only. There you go, just the first one anyway, but that's the one. If you hit create, it drops it down. So you have to hit static web app next. Just note that. Okay, so I'm gonna create a new resource group. I'm gonna call this YouTube testing. It's always good to create a resource group. This is part of the Azure course, but I always try and give this away for free because it's really important. Resource groups are free. And when you are testing things, create a resource group that's a different name from your other ones. And then when you're done, you can delete the resource group and it deletes all your tests. So this is, we're gonna call this test website. There we go, it's gonna check, we're good. Here's the one thing I need to make sure you do. Free. Make sure it says free, because what that's going to do is use the free plan, obviously, whereas a standard one, I believe, is like $9 a month US, depends on your region. But use the free version. And the free version is going to be very fast. You can compare the plans and see there's a lot of stuff in the free version. You probably won't need anything more than free for most sites. So, by the way, if you want, as of right now we're going to change it to go fully Blazor web app at some point in the near future. But for right now, if you go to imtimcorey.com, that is an Azure static web app. It has been for years. It runs great. I do pay the $9 a month for a couple of the Edge benefits, but really I could do the free version as well. It would work just fine. Okay, organization, I'm going to choose, this is from GitHub. So my repository, test website, and on branch main is fine. If you wanted to have a multi-branch strategy, you could do that and choose a different branch if you had multiple branches. I just have main, that's fine. We'll deploy it using a deployment token. Remember that. We're gonna come back to where that token lives. We're gonna hit advanced, central US, that's where I'm at. No tags, go ahead, review and create. So again, going pretty quick here because I just want to get through to the point of actually creating this Azure static web app. And I'm not pausing the video here. We'll do this in real time. I may pause the video when we get to the actual deployment because sometimes it takes a little bit to start up. But we've already created the resource. So test website has already been created, and now it's just waiting for deployment. Well, where is deployment? If we come over here to our test website and hit refresh, we now have a .github/workflows folder, and inside there we have a YAML document. If you're not familiar with YAML, don't worry, this created it for you. What this is the deployment job for deploying our Azure static web app. In fact, we go to actions here, we'll see that we're currently running a deployment of our static web app already. That's all we had to do. Let's go to settings here. If we go to settings and then come down here to secrets and variables under actions, we'll see that we have Azure Static Web App API token agreeable wave and then a number here. That right there, that token is the secret it's using to authorize GitHub Actions to talk to my Azure Static Web App and deploy my site. So that was added automatically. So if you wanted to, you could do this once and then tweak it. So if you wanted to, you could come over here to the code, you could look at what it's doing in this YAML file and say, hey, you know what? I want to change from main to a different branch, etc. I want to change where it deploys to or what the name of this secret is. There we go. So you can tweak that all you want, but that is what was set up for us. Now let's go to actions here and see it's done already. I didn't pause the video. So let's come back over here to here and hit refresh. And it says, visit our site. So let's go ahead and visit the site. And there's our website. Not much to it, just test website. This is our test website. But we've deployed a HTML5 or HTML website. Not very much HTML5 stuff there. But that would work the same if you were doing a React application. Because it really is just a front-end web application, HTML5, HTML, CSS, and then JavaScript, and the React is the JavaScript. But that's all you have to do. You're done. Like, we've created the Azure Static Web App. We deployed to it. Done. Now, let's do this again, but this time let's use a Blazor WebAssembly application, because I want to show you that, yes, you can use a Blazor WebAssembly application as well. Notice I'm saying WebAssembly and not Blazor Web App. There's a difference. So let's come here. I'm using Visual Studio 2026, the Insider Edition or Preview Edition. This is going to come out in November. It's late October right now, so it's coming out soon. But just note, you can do the same thing in VS 2022. It's the same stuff. All right, so create a new project. We're going to choose Blazor WebAssembly standalone app, not a Blazor web app. There's a difference. The difference is that the Blazor web app runs on the server and the client, whereas the Blazor WebAssembly standalone app runs on only the client. And that's important. For a static web app, you need to have the entire web application run on the client. So that's why React apps work, and Angular apps and Vue apps. That's why they work. The same thing is true with HTML5, just a standard landing page, or in this case, a Blazor WebAssembly standalone app. Okay, so make sure you choose this template. And we do, let's give it a name, Blazor Demo. Let's call it Blazor Demo. Sounds good. All right, and yeah, I'll call it Blazor Demo App. All right, we hit next, and I'm going to choose .NET 9. Even though with VS 2026, .NET 10 is in preview, you can use that, but you can't deploy it yet to Azure Static Web Apps as a .NET 10 app because it's not yet supporting it. By the time you watch this video, it may already support it. So you can check up on that, but .NET 9 is fine. You can upgrade to .NET 10 very easily. So we're going to have, yes, HTTPS, no authentication for now. Yes, a progressive web application, just for fun. And yes, we'll include the sample web pages. The rest, leave alone and hit create. Notice I have not created a GitHub repository yet. All right, we're going to do that in just a minute using Visual Studio with an existing application. Kind of want to do it this other way just to kind of show you. Okay, so let's open up Home, and we're going to say, instead of Hello World, this is our sample WASM app. And we'll say this is a sample Blazor WebAssembly. In case you don't know, WASM is WebAssembly. Blazor WebAssembly standalone app. Okay, so it's a little different than the standard landing page, just so you have something that doesn't look like it's just a boilerplate. Let's run this real quick just to see that yes, it does launch. It's always important to make sure it launches before you try and push it into production. There you go. Our sample WASM app. This is our sample Blazor WebAssembly standalone application. If you click up here, you could install it if you wanted to. It's a progressive web application. That's it. We're not going to make any more changes. This is not a Blazor video. I have videos on that separately. Let's come over here to GitHub Git changes and say create Git repository. And we're going to choose the local path is fine, leave it alone. The git ignore template is fine, leave it alone. License template is fine, leave it alone. Add the README. I'm going to put in the Tim Corey GitHub, and Blazor app or Blazor demo app is fine. Private visibility, cool. I hit create and push. And when I do, it's going to push those all up to GitHub. Now, that we can be done now with our Blazor side of things. Let's come back over here to my dashboard, and we're going to create a new resource. And we're going to say static web app. We'll deploy to a different static web app. We won't try and overwrite the existing one. So create static web app. And we're going to choose that same YouTube testing resource group, because again, we're going to delete the resource group and delete all of these tests at once. And we're going to say this is a Blazor web app. is fine. And again, make sure it's free. We're going to choose Tim Corey for the organization. Again, if this doesn't light up right, make sure you have your GitHub account is the correct account. Change the account if you need to. If you used Azure DevOps, you can use that instead. But Blazor, demo app, and main. So deployment token like before, central US, review and create. Go ahead and create that site. Now notice the API location, or the app location is going to be different. That kind of flashed and went away. We'll come back to that in just a minute once we see it. In fact, we can kind of poke around. I can find it. Let's go resource first. So go resource and notice that we can go here. This is probably the easiest way to go to find in GitHub. We can say GitHub action runs. It's waiting for deployment. So we can go here and see that it's deploying. All right. But we can also then go back to our code. I can point this out while we're here under workflows. Down here, and this is why doing it this way is so nice, because it says app location is ./Blazor demo, not just dot, which is the root location, which is what our previous demo did. API location is listed as API, even though we're not using an API yet. That's what it would be. And the output location is www root. So this has set all this up for us so that it finds the files in the right location. That's what's happening here, so that it can, deploy the right thing when we build. Because when you build a HTML site, you're just saying, hey, here's the files. Whereas when you build a Blazor WebAssembly application, you've got a output directory and you've got to take that information and put it in the right spot. So it's a little bit different, but it takes care of those differences for you. So under actions, still deploying, let's go to settings here and just point out that under secrets and variables actions, we have that Azure Static Web App API token Zealous Grass, which is different than the last one, because that's just a code name it gives it. So that is the key. I'm not going to show you the key, but that's the key for deploying this site. Let's come back here. It does take longer to build and deploy these things. So there we go. It's doing the build now. If you ever run a Blazor web application in debug mode, they're very large. When you deploy, it trims it down quite a bit. And so that does take more time. So just note that that's going to do extra work. Also notice that it is using .NET 9 for the deployment version, the build version as well. So this should be just about done. I'm going to pause the video. I don't want you to just sit here and wait. You can watch we're at 154 right now. It is deploying, finish uploading. So it's almost done. We're very close. We're 2 minutes and 3 seconds into this deployment, and we're very close to done. Let's come back up here. In progress. So I'll pause the video here and we'll come back once this is done. Okay, so we're very close. It's 3 minutes, 3 seconds for the build job, total of 3 minutes, 14 seconds for the entire process. So we have now deployed to our Azure Static Web App. We can hit refresh here, waiting for deployment. There we go, we're ready. So again, we can come here and look, there's our sample WASM application. Again, on the web, that's an actual URL. Again, I'm gonna take this down once we're done here, so don't go looking for it. But we now have an actual WebAssembly application up and running, deployed to an Azure Static Web App in just a few minutes. So very quick to use Azure Static Web Apps. There's a lot you can do here. You can set up custom domains. So if you want your own custom domain, just say add, and it's going to tell you how to do that. If you want to hook up an API, here's how you hook up an API. The really cool thing is when you hook up an API, it locks it down so that even though you might not have authentication on an API, it's going to not allow anyone else to have access to that API, which is really great for making sure that your authentication is happening. It's just kind of transparent to you, and it's more simple. Really great stuff. You can do deployment slots, so you can have multiple slots. You can have a a development slot, a staging slot, and a pre-production slot, and all the rest. Lots of stuff you can do with Azure Static Web Apps, but that's how you set them up. That's how you deploy to them. Super simple. I would encourage you to check them out. Let's now go, before we're done, I want to again show you this. I try to do this every time. YouTube testing, the resource group, click on it. There's our 2 items in here. Now, I'm going to say delete resource group. What that will do is delete everything in here. Now, these are free, so I wouldn't technically have to delete them. But I'm going to, because of the fact that I want to show you how to clean up an entire resource group in case you were doing something that had a cost to it. That way you can do a quick test on something without incurring long-term fees. And again, I cover much more in my course on this, but let's delete resource group. I'm going to copy the name, paste it down here to confirm deletion. When you delete a resource group, everything's gone. There's not a backup. It's not like, oh, whoops, I can undo that. Nope, it's done. So it's going to prompt you a couple times. Everything is gone. This cannot be undone. Are you sure? Yes. Okay, that's it. We've now cleaned up Azure. Everything's cleaned up. We can clean up the source code as well. I'll do that later. But that's it for deploying to Azure Static Web Apps. I would encourage you to check them out. Let me know what you think. But again, it's not for everything. It's not for a PHP site or an MVC site or a Blazor web app site. Anything that has server-side processing, that's an Azure web app, not an Azure static web app. So they're different. But if you have Angular, React, or Vue front ends, or if you're using Blazor WebAssembly for a front end, or if you are doing what I'm doing, if you go to IamTimCorey.com, this right here is an Azure static web app. It's all just HTML5, CSS3, and JavaScript, a little bit of JavaScript. So this is all front end stuff. Therefore, it's all free. So I would encourage you to check it out. All right. Thanks for watching. As always, I am Tim Corey.